My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat as I sat on the edge of the couch in the living room, the glow of my phone's screen burning my eyes in the dark. It was well past midnight, and the house was dead quiet except for the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen. I kept rereading the message I'd found earlier, the one Emily didn't know I'd seen, buried in her notifications when she left her phone on the counter by mistake. "Can't wait to see you again," it said, from a contact saved as Ryan with a stupid heart emoji next to his name. My thumb hovered over the screen, every word carving a fresh cut into my chest. I wasn't snooping, not really, but when her phone buzzed 3 times in a row while she was in the shower, I couldn't help but look. Now I wished I hadn't. The sound of a car door slamming outside snapped me out of it, and my grip tightened on the phone like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Headlights flashed through the front window, slicing across the walls, and then I heard her key scrape in the lock, clumsy, like she'd had one too many drinks. The door swung open, and there she was, Emily, standing in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the porch light. She was wearing that red dress, the one that hugged her hips so tight it used to make my pulse race when we'd go out dancing years ago, her skin catching the light in a way that reminded me of nights when we couldn't keep our hands off each other. But now it just felt like a punch to the gut because I knew she hadn't worn it for me. Her hair was a tangle of curls, loose and wild, like someone else's fingers had been running through it, and her lipstick was smudged just enough to confirm what I already feared. She didn't notice me at first, kicking off her heels with a lazy sigh, but when her eyes finally landed on me, she froze for half a second, not out of guilt, but like I was some annoying coworker who'd shown up at the wrong meeting. "What the hell, Michael?" she said, her voice sharp, dripping with irritation as she tossed her purse onto the chair by the door. "You're just sitting there like a dam stalker or something." I didn't move, didn't blink, just held the phone up so she could see the screen, the message still glowing like a neon sign. Her eyes flicked to it, and I waited for her to flinch, to stammer, to lie, but instead, she laughed, a short, bitter sound that hit me harder than any slap could have. "Oh, please," she said, stepping closer, her perfume hitting me like a wave, sweet and heavy, the same one she used to wear when we'd stay up all night talking, but now it felt like it belonged to a stranger. "You're really gonna make a big deal out of this?" My mouth went dry, but I forced the words out, low and steady. "Who's Ryan, Emily?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms, the dress shifting just enough to show a sliver of thigh, and I hated how part of me still noticed, still remembered the way her skin felt under my hands back when we were us. "You want the truth, Michael? Fine. Ryan's the guy from the gym, the one who actually pays attention to me, unlike you, who's been checked out for years." Her words landed like bricks, each one heavier than the last, and I felt something twist inside me, not anger yet, but something cold and sharp, like a blade slowly turning. "You're sleeping with him," I said, not a question, just a fact, and she didn't even hesitate, just smirked, like she was proud of it. "Yeah, I am," she said, leaning in close enough that I could see the glitter on her eyelids, the kind she never wore for me anymore. "And you know what? It's fun. He makes me feel alive. Michael, something you haven't done in forever." I wanted to yell, to demand why, to shake her until she took it back, but my body wouldn't move, like my brain was stuck in quicksand. She straightened up, her smirk fading into something meaner. "What? You thought I'd just sit around waiting for you to notice me again? Ryan knows how to make a woman happy. Maybe if you weren't so busy playing the sad husband, you'd get it." My jaw clenched, and I could feel my pulse hammering in my temples, every heartbeat screaming at me to do something, anything, but all I could manage was a whisper. "How long?" She shrugged, like I'd asked about the weather. "A few months, give or take." Then she turned, grabbing her purse and heading for the stairs, her bare feet silent on the hardwood, leaving me alone with the weight of her words. "Get some sleep, Michael," she called over her shoulder, like we'd just argued about whose turn it was to do the dishes. "You look like hell." The bedroom door clicked shut upstairs, and I sat there, the phone still in my hand, Ryan's message staring back at me, mocking me. My mind was racing, replaying every moment of the last few months. Every late night she said she was at book club, every time she smiled at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I didn't know if I wanted to scream or cry or just walk out the front door and never come back. But one thing was clear, something in me had cracked tonight, and there was no putting it back together. I set the phone down on the coffee table, my hands shaking, and stared at the empty doorway where she'd stood, wondering what the hell I was supposed to do now, knowing she was upstairs, sleeping like nothing had happened, while my whole world was falling apart. I woke up on the couch with a crick in my neck and a headache that felt like someone was drilling into my skull, the kind of pain you get when you haven't slept, but your brain's been running a marathon all night. The living room was gray with early morning light, and for a second, I thought maybe last night was a bad dream. But then I saw my phone on the coffee table, still open to that damn message from Ryan, and it all came crashing back. Emily's smirk, her voice cutting me down, the way she admitted she'd been with him like it was nothing. I rubbed my eyes, trying to shake the fog in my head, and listened for any sound from upstairs, half expecting her to be gone already. But I heard the faint creak of the floorboards, then the soft hum of her singing some pop song she'd been obsessed with lately, like she hadn't just blown up our marriage a few hours ago. My stomach churned, not with anger, but with this hollow ache, like someone had scooped out everything I thought I knew about her. I stood up, my legs stiff, and wandered into the kitchen, where Emily was pouring coffee into her favorite mug, the one with the cheesy heart she used to say reminded her of me. She was in her robe, her hair still messy from last night, and the way the silk clung to her shoulders brought back a memory of a morning years ago when I'd wake up to her curled against me, her breath warm on my chest, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my skin, and I'd feel like the luckiest guy alive. Now that memory felt like a lie she'd sold me. She glanced over, took a sip of her coffee, and gave me a look like I was a stranger crashing her breakfast. "You gonna mope all day, Michael?" she said, her tone light, like she was teasing me about forgetting to take out the trash. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Every word I wanted to say felt stuck, like it'd just bounce off her anyway. She shrugged, grabbed her phone, and started scrolling, her lips curling into a smile at something, probably him. And that was when I knew I couldn't just sit here and let her act like I didn't exist. I waited until she went to shower, the sound of running water giving me a window, and I grabbed her laptop from the counter. She never changed her password, still the same one from when we got married, and I hated how that made my chest tighten. I opened her messages, my hands shaking, and there it was, a whole thread with Ryan, months of chats, some from nights she told me she was at yoga or with her sister. They weren't just flirting, they were laughing about me, her calling me boring, predictable, saying I'd never suspect a thing because I was too wrapped up in my routine. One message from last week hit like a sledgehammer. "Michael got me flowers again, like that's gonna fix anything. Poor guy's clueless." I slammed the laptop shut, my breath coming in short bursts, and I had to grip the counter to keep from smashing something. I didn't hear the shower stop, didn't hear her come downstairs, but suddenly she was there, towel around her hair, glaring at me. "What are you doing?" she snapped, but I just stared at her, seeing someone I didn't recognize anymore. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed on the table, an unknown number. I picked it up, mostly to avoid her eyes, and a woman's voice came through, calm but heavy, like she'd been carrying bad news for a while. "Michael? This is Sarah, Ryan's ex-wife. I think we need to talk." My heart skipped, and I stepped outside onto the porch, the cold air hitting my face like a slap. Sarah didn't waste time. "Emily's been with him since last summer, at least," she said, her words steady but sharp. I found out the hard way, thought it was over, but it wasn't. "She's living a whole other life, Michael, and you're not in it." I listened, my grip tightening on the phone, as she told me things that matched the chats I'd just read. Dates, lies, even the way Emily bragged about having me fooled. Sarah's voice softened at the end. "Don't let her win this, okay? She did it to me too." I hung up, staring at the street, my mind spinning but clearer than it had been in weeks. Emily was still inside, probably thinking she had me right where she wanted, but Sarah's words kept echoing. "Don't let her win." I looked down at my wedding ring, the metal catching the morning sun, and for the first time, I wondered if I could take it off, if I could walk away from the woman who'd turned my life into a game she was proud to play. I stood in the lawyer's office 3 days later, my hands stuffed in my pockets, feeling like I was about to jump off a cliff, but weirdly calm about it, like I'd already made up my mind and was just waiting for my body to catch up. Caitlin, the attorney my buddy recommended, sat across from me, her desk cluttered with papers and a coffee mug that said "World's Okayest Mom" in block letters. which made her seem like someone I could trust not to sugarcoat things. She leaned forward, her eyes steady, and asked me one question after I'd spilled the whole ugly story about Emily, Ryan, and the lies I found on her laptop. "Michael, do you want to fix this, or do you want out?" My throat tightened, but I didn't hesitate. "Out," I said, my voice low but sure, like I was finally saying something true after months of swallowing silence. Caitlin nodded, no judgment, just started explaining what came next. Paperwork, assets, the works, and I felt this strange relief, like I was cutting a rope that had been strangling me for too long. When I got home, the house felt different, quieter, like it was holding its breath, and I decided I wasn't waiting anymore for Emily to call the shots. I grabbed some cardboard boxes from the garage and started packing her stuff. Her books, her makeup, the scarf she'd wrap around her neck on chilly mornings when we'd walk to the farmer's market, her perfume still lingering on it, sharp and sweet, reminding me of how she'd lean into me on those walks, her cheek brushing my shoulder, her laugh, so warm I thought it'd never fade. I folded that scarf last, my fingers lingering on the soft fabric, then tossed it in the box and taped it shut, my chest aching but my hands steady. I called a locksmith that afternoon, watched him swap out the deadbolt on the front door, the new key cold and heavy in my palm, and for the first time, I felt like I was taking something back, like this house might actually be mine again. Emily noticed by evening. Her texts started blowing up my phone while I was heating a frozen pizza, each one angrier than the last. "Why can't I get my mail, Michael? Did you seriously lock me out of my own closet? What's wrong with you?" I read them, my jaw tight, but didn't reply. She didn't get to demand answers anymore, not after she'd spent months laughing behind my back with Ryan. I was done being her punching bag. Then, just as I was about to turn off the lights for the night, there was a knock at the door, loud and impatient, and my stomach dropped because I knew it wasn't her. She'd never knock. I opened it, and there was Ryan, standing on my porch in a leather jacket, his jaw set like he thought he was the hero in some cheap action flick. "We need to talk, man," he said, stepping forward without waiting for an invite. But I blocked the doorway, my shoulder brushing the frame, and stared him down. "You got nothing to say I want to hear," I told him, my voice flat. But inside, my blood was boiling, every muscle tense. He smirked, like he thought he had me figured out. "Emily's a wreck because of you, Michael. You're acting like some petty kid, locking her out, playing victim. She made a mistake, sure, but you weren't exactly husband of the year, were you?" I laughed, a short, bitter sound that made his eyes narrow. "Mistake," I said, stepping closer, close enough to smell his cologne, the same kind I'd caught on Emily's clothes last week. "She didn't trip into your bed, Ryan. She planned it, lied about it, and enjoyed it. You're not her savior. You're her next fool." His smirk faded, and for a second, I saw doubt flicker in his eyes, but he puffed up his chest anyway. "You're just jealous," he started, but I cut him off, slamming the door in his face, the sound echoing through the house like a gunshot. I locked it, my hands shaking, and leaned against the wood, listening to his car peel out of the driveway. My phone buzzed again, another text from Emily, this one colder, sharper. "You think you can erase me, Michael? Good luck." I stared at the words, my heart racing, knowing she wasn't done fighting, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for whatever she'd throw at me next, but I wasn't backing down, not anymore. I sat in my truck outside the bar on Cedar Street, my knuckles white around the steering wheel, knowing this was a bad idea, but needing to see it through, like signing the last page of a book you never wanted to read. Emily had texted me yesterday, her words softer than usual, asking to meet, just to talk, she said, like we could somehow untangle the mess she'd made of us over a couple of beers. I didn't buy it, not for a second, but part of me wanted to look her in the eyes one last time, to see if there was anything left of the woman I'd promised forever to, or if she was gone for good. I got there early, picked a corner booth in the bar, the kind of place with sticky tables and neon signs buzzing overhead, the air thick with fried food and regret. The jukebox was playing some old country song about heartbreak, which felt too on the nose, but I didn't have time to dwell because Emily walked in, 2 minutes late, her coat swinging open to show a black top that dipped low, the kind she used to wear when we'd sneak away for date nights, and I hated how my stomach flipped, remembering how I'd pull her close in parking lots like this, her lips soft and warm against mine, her hands tugging at my shirt like she couldn't wait to be alone. Now, she slid into the booth across from me, her perfume cutting through the bar's stale smell, and gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, Michael," she said, her voice low, like she was testing the waters, and I just nodded, keeping my hands on the table, my beer untouched. She ordered a gin and tonic, stirring it with a little straw, and I could tell she was building up to something, her fingers brushing her hair back the way she used to when she wanted my attention, but it felt hollow now, like a performance I'd seen too many times. "I messed up," she started, looking down at her drink, her voice cracking just enough to sound real, but I knew better. "I thought Ryan was what I needed, someone to shake me out of this rut, but he's not you, Michael. He doesn't get me like you did." I watched her, my jaw tight, waiting for the catch, because with Emily, there was always a catch. She leaned forward, her eyes locked on mine. "I'm not saying we can fix this, but don't you ever miss it? Those nights we'd stay up talking, the way we used to laugh." I wanted to laugh myself, not because it was funny, but because she thought she could reel me back in with memories she'd already trashed. "You don't miss me, Emily," I said, my voice steady, cutting through the bar's noise. "You miss the guy who let you walk all over him. The one who didn't ask questions when you came home late smelling like someone else. That guy's gone." Her face twitched, just for a second, and I saw the mask slip. Anger, not sadness, flashing in her eyes. "You're acting like I'm the only one who screwed up," she said, her voice sharper now. "You stopped trying years ago, Michael. You made it easy for me to look somewhere else." I leaned back, my heart pounding but my hands still. "You lied for months, Emily. You laughed about it with him. Don't sell me this victim story." I read the messages. She froze, her drink halfway to her lips, and I stood up, tossing a few bucks on the table. "We're done here," I said, walking out into the cool night air, my boots heavy on the gravel, feeling lighter than I had in weeks, like I'd finally cut the last thread tying me to her. I was barely home, kicking off my shoes, when my phone rang. Jake, our old friend from college, his voice tight, like he didn't want to be the one making this call. "Hey man," he said, and I braced myself. "I hate to stir things up, but Emily's been talking to people, saying you ditched her out of nowhere, that you went cold and didn't even try to save things. She's got half her friends buying it." I gripped the phone, my eyes drifting to the boxes of her stuff stacked in the corner, their tape glinting under the lamp. "She's lying, Jake," I said, my voice low, my blood simmering. "And I'm not sure what's worse, that she believes it, or that she thinks I'll let her rewrite me." He went quiet, then asked, "What are you going to do, Michael?" I didn't answer right away, just stared at those boxes, knowing this fight wasn't over, not by a long shot, and wondering how far she'd go to twist the truth before it caught up with her. I woke up to my phone buzzing like an angry wasp, a notification from some social media app one barely used anymore. And when I opened it, there was Emily's face, all smiles and a selfie with a new haircut, her caption screaming about finding herself and letting go of toxic vibes, and I knew exactly who she meant by toxic. My name smeared in the comments where our mutual friends chimed in with heart emojis and "you go girl" nonsense. My blood boiled, not because I cared what strangers thought, but because she was out there rewriting our story, painting me as the guy who broke her when she was the one who'd torn us apart with a grin. I tossed the phone on the couch, pacing the living room, the morning sun cutting through the blinds like it was mocking me, and I could still hear her voice from that bar, trying to twist my memories into her trap, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. I'd spent too long letting her call the shots, and now I was done playing defense. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, even though it was barely noon, and called Jake, the one friend I knew wouldn't buy her act without asking questions. He picked up on the second ring, his voice steady, and I didn't hold back. I told him everything, the late nights, the messages with Ryan, the way she laughed about me like I was a joke, the way she stood in that bar pretending she missed me when all she wanted was control. Jake listened, quiet at first, then let out a long sigh. "Man, I had no idea she was pulling that crap," he said, and I could hear the disbelief in his voice, like he was seeing her for the first time too. "You don't need to tell everyone, Michael, but I've got your back. People will figure out the truth." I thanked him, my throat tight, and hung up, feeling a weight lift, not all the way, but enough to breathe easier. Later that day, my phone lit up again. Emily, this time with a long message, no emojis, just words dripping with fake regret, saying she wished we could have fixed things, that she still thought of our old Sunday mornings, her lying in my arms, her hair tickling my chin as we planned our day. And for a split second, I saw it, felt her warmth against me, the way her laugh used to light up the room before it turned cruel. But I shook it off, knowing she wasn't reaching for me. She was reaching for power. I didn't reply, just blocked her number, her profile, every trace of her I could erase, my fingers steady as I cut that last tie. That evening, I drove to the bridge over the river near our old apartment, the one we'd walked by when we were still dreaming of a future together, and I pulled the wedding ring off my finger, the metal cold and heavier than I remembered. I stood there, the water rushing below, and tossed it in, watching it disappear into the dark current, not with anger, but with a quiet finality, like I was burying the version of me who'd believed her lies. Back home, the house felt different, not empty, but mine, the boxes of her stuff gone, donated to some thrift shop where they'd find a better story. I sat on the porch, the night air cool, and thought about how betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It rewires your brain, makes you question every promise, every touch, but it also shows you who you are when the smoke clears. I wasn't angry anymore, not at her, not at Ryan, not even at myself for loving her too long. I was free, and that freedom felt raw, like a muscle I hadn't used in years. If you're out there, wondering if your gut's trying to tell you something, listen close, because love doesn't hide behind lies or demand you shrink to fit someone else's ego. Walk away when it feels wrong, and don't look back, because the person you're saving isn't them, it's you. Emily thought she'd write my ending, but I took the pen, and for the first time in years, I'm the one deciding what comes next, and it's not her, not anymore.